In the pre-dawn haze of May 6, 2021, as the first hints of light pierced the humid Texas air, the vast network of Colonial Pipeline hummed with unyielding rhythm, a hidden colossus snaking 5,500 miles underground from the Gulf Coast refineries to the teeming harbors of New York Harbor. This was no ordinary conduit. It was the lifeblood of the East Coast, ferrying 2.5 million barrels of gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel daily, enough to power the morning rush hours in Atlanta, the endless taxi queues in D.C., and the soaring jets out of Charlotte. For decades, it had operated in quiet efficiency, a testament to American engineering, invisible to the millions who depended on it. But on that fateful Thursday, invisible forces were already at work, digital predators lurking in the shadows of cyberspace, their fingers poised over keyboards thousands of miles away in the dimly lit basements of Eastern Europe. These were the operatives of DarkSide, a shadowy syndicate that had risen from the murk, a depths of Russian-speaking hacker forums like a digital hydra, not driven by ideology or revenge, but by cold, calculated greed. Born in the summer of 2020, DarkSide wasn't just a gang. It was a franchise, a ransomware as a service empire, where core developers crafted malicious code and leased it to affiliates, foot soldiers who scouted targets, breached defenses, and split the spoils. Their malware was a masterpiece of malice, designed to infiltrate, encrypt, and extort, with built-in safeguards to avoid systems in Russian or former Soviet languages, a subtle fingerprint pointing to origins in Putin's backyard. That morning, one such affiliate, perhaps a lone operator in a St. Petersburg apartment, or a coordinated team scattered across time zones, zeroed in on Colonial's vulnerabilities. It started with a single chink in the armor, a dormant VPN account, its password compromised and floating on the dark web like bait in a trap. No multi-factor authentication stood guard, of oversight that would soon unravel an empire. In a swift 2-hour blitz, they siphoned off nearly 100 gigabytes of data, sensitive files, employee records, operational blueprints, zipping it away to hidden servers, a digital heist executed with the precision of a bank vault cracker. As the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows over the pipeline's control centers in Alpharetta, Georgia, the intruders planted their payload. Ransomware that wormed its way into the billing systems, encrypting files and locking out access. By 5 a.m. on May 7th, the alarms pierced the quiet of the night shift. Monitors flickered with ominous wood. Earnings. Data vanishing behind unbreakable walls of code. The hacker's note materialized like a specter.
Your data is encrypted.
Your data
Pay us
is
75
encrypted.
Bitcoins.
Pay us
4.4
75
million.
Bitcoins, $4.4 million, or watch it all burn on the dark web. Panic rippled through the ranks as engineers scrambled, their fingers flying over keyboards in a futile bid to stem the tide. CEO Joseph Blunt, a seasoned oil man with decades in the industry, was roused from sleep, his phone buzzing with urgency. In the war room, under fluorescent lights that buzzed like angry hornets, the decision crystallized. Shut it down. Not just the infected IT systems, but the entire pipeline, to prevent the malware from leaping to the operational controls that regulated the flow of fuel. Valves clanged shut, pumps whirred to a halt, and suddenly the artery was severed. Word spread like wildfire through the energy sector, whispers turning to headlines as the East Coast awoke to a brewing storm. In Washington, D.C., President Joe Biden's national security team convened in the Situation Room, maps of the pipeline glowing on screens, intelligence briefs painting a picture of an invisible enemy. Biden, his brow furrowed under the weight of a nation still reeling from the pandemic, absorbed the details. No direct hit on the pumps, but the billing paralysis meant they couldn't track or invoice deliveries, a logistical nightmare that could cascade into chaos. "This isn't just a corporate hack," an advisor murmured. "It's a national security threat." By midday, the White House issued statements assuring the public while mobilizing the FBI's cyber division in Quantico, where agents pored over digital forensics, tracing IP addresses that bounced through proxies like ghosts in the ether. Meanwhile, in Alpharetta, Blount faced the ultimate dilemma. DarkSide's affiliates had struck gold, but the group itself distanced with a cryptic post on their dark web site. "We are apolitical. We do not participate in geopolitics. Our goal is to make money and not creating problems for society." It was a brazen lie, for the shutdown was already sowing seeds of disruption. Truckers at depots in Texas idled their rigs, staring at empty manifests. Refineries throttled output, tanks swelling with unsent fuel. In the Southeast, gas stations felt the first pinch, managers eyeing falling inventory levels with growing alarm. By evening, lines began forming in Charlotte, North Carolina. Families in minivans, commuters in sedans, all clutching at the pumps like lifelines. As night enveloped the nation on May 7th, the crisis deepened. In Florida, a single mother named Maria, racing home from her night shift at a hospital, pulled into a station only to find out-of-gas signs glaring back. She cursed under her breath, her tank on fumes, the drive to her check. Children's school tomorrow now a gamble. Stories like hers multiplied, human threads in a tapestry of turmoil. DarkSide's model was insidious. Developers took 20 to 30% of ransoms, affiliates the rest, with a help desk for negotiations and even PR spins to portray themselves as ethical thieves, sparing hospitals and nonprofits. But Colonial was fair game, a fat target with revenues in the billions. Blount, pacing his office, weighed the options. Pay and fuel the beast, or hold out and risk prolonged blackout. Consultants from Mandiant, the cybersecurity firm, arrived like cavalry, dissecting the breach. The VPN flaw, the exfiltrated data, the ransomware's rapid spread, targeting domain controllers for maximum leverage. Hours ticked by in tense deliberations, the air thick with coffee and anxiety. Finally, under FBI oversight, the wire went out. 75 bitcoins transferred to a DarkSide wallet, vanishing into the blockchain's abyss. In return, a decryption tool arrived, a clunky, sluggish program that crawled through the encrypted files like molasses. It wasn't enough. Colonial leaned on backups, engineers working round the clock to rebuild, byte by painful bite. Dawn broke on May 8th, and the ripple effects surged. Airports in the Carolinas scrambled, jet fuel reserves dipping low. American Airlines rerouted long-haul flights, adding stops in Chicago for refueling, passengers grumbling in terminals. In Georgia, Governor Brian Kemp declared a state of emergency, suspending fuel taxes in a bid to ease the sting, but panic buying had taken hold. Social media erupted with images of endless queues, fists flying over the last gallons, people hoarding in plastic bags, a hazardous folly that prompted urgent warnings from the Consumer Product Safety Commission. Prices climbed relentlessly, breaching $3 a gallon nationwide for the first time since 2014, a silent inflation biting into wallets from Miami to Maine. Biden addressed the nation that afternoon, his voice a blend of reassurance and resolve. Though there's no evidence the Russian government is behind this, the actors are in Russia. They have some responsibility. Behind the scenes, diplomatic channels hummed, U.S. envoys pressing Moscow, while cyber warriors hunted DarkSide's digital footprints. May 9th brought federal action. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration waived hours of service rules for truckers in 17 states, unleashing a fleet of tankers to bridge the gap. But the void was vast. By midday, 1,000 stations in the southeast were dry, shelves bare of essential, says supply chains buckled. In Virginia, a truck driver named Tom, his rig loaded with precious cargo, navigated clogged highways, his radio crackling with tales of desperation. "It's like the 70s oil crisis all over again," he muttered. DarkSide, sensing the heat, posted another missive, distancing from their affiliates. "We introduced a moderation process to avoid this in the future." But the damage was done. Forums like XSS banned ransomware discussions, the underworld recoiling from the spotlight. As May 10th dawned, the crisis peaked. In Charlotte, 71% of stations were out. In D.C., 87% by week's end. Biden's team expanded emergencies. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm touring facilities, urging calm. "This is a supply crunch, not a shortage. Don't hoard." Yet hoarding raged, plastic containers bulging in trunks, fire hazards ignored in the frenzy. Cybersecurity experts dissected the breach. A single password, likely from a personal leak, had toppled a titan, exposing silos in intelligence sharing and lax private sector defenses. DarkSide's haul was staggering, $90 million from 47 victims in a year. Their model, a twisted startup, with revenue splits and victim profiling. Blount, in interviews later, would reflect, "It was the right thing for the country," defending the payout amid backlash. On May 12th at 5 p.m., the pipeline stirred back to life, fuel surging through veins after 6 agonizing days. But recovery lagged. Glitches persisted, full flow days away. Biden signed Executive Order 14,028, mandating zero-trust architectures, better detection, a cyber safety review board, a blueprint for resilience. Then the twist. May 13th, DarkSide announced dissolution, claiming U.S. pressure seized servers and funds. Skeptics whispered ruse, as affiliates rebranded under new banners. By May 15th, operations normalized, but scars endured. 10,600 empty pumps, prices at $3.04. The climax came June 7th. Justice Department revealed reclaiming 63.7 bitcoins, $2.3 million, via a mysterious private key, a digital coup in the shadows. Senate hearings followed, Blount testifying on the VPN lapse, vowing reforms. A $10 million bounty hung over DarkSide's remnants. The attack laid bare America's fragility. One breach crippling supply chains, blurring crime and warfare. Pipelines flowed anew, but and their depths lurked warnings. Next time, The shadows might strike harder, the lights dimmer, the nation forever changed.